How and when do you add hops and yeast to a beer? Welcome back. This is episode 4 of my Baltic Porter series. This video is going to cover boil, cool, and pitch. I've got two separate buckets of wort, one with a pre-boil gravity of 16 degrees Plato, which will be my Baltic Porter, and the other is 11 degrees Plato, which will become my Party Porter. Now, I need to think about hop profile for this style, and since the Baltic Porter is going to be very malty, I want to add some hops to balance the sweetness. I'm going to target the upper end of the bitterness guidelines for this beer. I'm aiming for 35 IBUs. And if you don't know what IBU is, it stands for International Bitterness Units. IBUs are used to determine bitterness given from hops. They're also more like guidelines because there's plenty of things that change how you perceive bitterness, especially sweetness. I'm adding 1 ounce or 28 grams of Saaz hops at 15 minutes left in the boil. And Saaz hops are a classic in European beers and is very traditional for Baltic porter. And I'll do some math and get the remainder of my bitterness at the start of my boil with a high alpha acid hop like Helios. And for the party porter, I'm only going to add Helios at the beginning of the boil and target 20 IBUs because this beer is going to require less bitterness because it's less sweet. And I also am going to not add any late addition hops for the party porter because I want the coffee to be the main flavor driver for this beer. So you'll notice I'm boiling with the lid off, which will dissipate a flavor called DMS. This is an off flavor in beer, so you want to always boil with your lid off. DMS stands for dimethyl sulfide, and it's also going to lead to losing some volume due to evaporation. That volume loss is why, if you've been auditing my series, you'll notice my current pre-boil gravity of 16.4 is not my target gravity of 18 degrees Plato. I know that I typically have an evaporation of about 7%, so I'll concentrate my wort, and then that's how I'll hit my target gravity. But what I did not account for was that my house was very dry due to my heat being on, and I actually got an evaporation of 15% on both of my batches, so much more than anticipated. And I ended up with 19 degrees Plato finishing gravity for my Baltic Porter and 13 degrees Plato finishing gravity for my Party Porter. Nothing wrong with that, just a higher ABV in the end, which I'm totally fine with. Now it's time to chill this down. I run my boiling hot wort through my already cleaned copper coil. This sanitizes the system. Once that circulates for about 10 minutes, then I'll start adding ice water to the bucket that the coil is in and sending my liquid into my fermenter, which I ferment in my corny kegs. At the time I made this video, Texas had an ice storm, so I started adding snow, and that felt very Baltic of me. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. And you'll notice I'm dropping in the wort from a bit of a height because I'm trying to add air to the wort, and the yeast will use this oxygen to help build cell walls whenever it reproduces by budding during fermentation. So I sanitized my 3470 yeast and let it rip. There it goes. Good luck, little buddies. Happy fermenting. And in the next episode, I'll do a deeper dive into yeast, fermentation under pressure, and something called Henry's Law. I'll see you then.